Howdy. Is the stress and anxiety of modern games just too much for you? Do you wish for something a little more calming? This isn't the game for you, because you haven't checked on water usage in 3 cycles and now your colony is starving. Welcome to Oxygen Not Included. Let me introduce you to the cast here. We've got Abe, Nokia, and Rwanda. But what are the downsides? Abe is retarded, Nike is a man, and Row Your Boat is obese. Now, we put their small, childlike, Cheeto dust-covered fingers to work on constructing our base. Alright, since Rocket is big-boned, we need to build food production, and for that, we need batteries, and for batteries, we need electricity, and for that, we need to harness the power of man. Question, do you enjoy breathing? Then you might want to play some oxygen-producing elements. Now, at this point in the game, unless at birth you chose the Tard Wrangler perk, the game might become a little harder. Special needs teachers, this is where you'll begin to feel right at home. This is where the expansion really begins, and we all know what that means. Now, you see, my colony has a problem. I was operating under the assumption that all water used gets returned eventually and can be recycled. This is not so. Now, I'm out of water. Pain. So becomes the quest. Find more water. Possible options? Get slime. Turn it into algae. Forget algae can be used to produce oxygen. Suffocate violently. Get ice. Attempt to melt it. Google how to melt it. Attempt to melt it. Scrap the idea. Get ice, look for a way to melt it, starve to death. Alright, new colony. Duplicate selection screen. I sort of glossed over this before, so let's get deeper into it. In Oxygen Not Included, you normally get a choice between actual functioning members of society or useless apes who have no desirable traits, who add nothing to your colony other than being living, breathing wastes of your oxygen production. Similar to Canadian. Now, the first thing we need to do is secure water. No, save those for later. We'll be needing them. Now you can see I've gone with the silo construction design, like in that book, Wool. Please don't fact check that, I never actually finished the series. Alright, let me give you a tour of my crib. We got the massage booth right next to the food. We got the power room. We got the... Now, this is the Oxyfern garden. You'll see it in many different configurations throughout this video, but this will prove to be the single most important addition to my colony. And this is where I began to realize one of my most fatal flaws with my last colony. What I like to call the proportionally integrated semi-breathable silo design, or for short, PIP. The reason my last colony lost a lot of oxygen was due to it being open in a lot of ways, leading to most of the breathable gas leaking out the top. You see, in Oxygen Not Included, gas is a dynamic fluid-like background substance. This means that the heavier gases, i.e. carbon dioxide, chlorine, and natural gas, will sink below your oxygen, which will float on those gases and even compress them given the right circumstances. The fact that the gases are so accurate to real life is both a blessing and a curse, as many times low-pressure breathable gas can still lead to asphyxiation, or, conversely, high-pressure breathable gas leading to popped eardrums and increased stress in duplicants. Tangent aside, this is why I replace all the floor tiles I can with airflow tiles, allowing the carbon to sink and the oxygen to rise. Now you might notice that there are no joint beds. This is a tactical decision because it's a massive turnoff for women, but it's still the perfect size for bros to cuddle. It was also at this point that I realized that my colonists might have to pee, occasionally. Oops. So this is me checking the temperature overlay, which is ironic because despite it becoming an issue later in the run, I completely neglect this feature from here on out. Anyway, know what time it is? Time to expand and leave the silo for the first time. There it is, boys. We found oil. And due to my absolute baboon mentality, I will, again, never use it. If you're beginning to see a pattern here, you're not a schizophrenic who forgot their meds. No, I'm just not very good at video games. Now, the rather astute among you might have noticed that I have discovered a volcano or vent. This can either be a great thing or a terrible thing. You see, eventually colonies run out of starter water, and they need to find new ways of obtaining water. And in Oxygen Not Included, the way you do this is by getting your hands on a steam vent. Even better if it's a freshwater steam vent. And despite having 169 hours in this game, I've never actually gotten far enough to have to worry about needing steam vents until this run. Mostly because I didn't know they existed, and I would always run out of water before I could figure it out. However, until that point, I'll set up some water reclamation and production to hold us off. I'd also like to note that this is the furthest I've ever made it in this game, so from here on out, if you're a seasoned Oxygen Not Included player, and bad bases or decision making causes you to have brain aneurysms, this is your chance to leave. So at this point, I decided to finally build real latrines for my dupes. Why I didn't delete the toilets that are actually in the silo is a mystery to me as well. And hey, would you look at that, my latrine system actually seems to be working. You know, for this being my first time doing this and it being like 3 a.m., I did pretty well.
Too early for this. It's 3 a.m.
I'm not entirely sure how to set up a proper cooling loop, but I essentially tried to do it the same way I thought air conditioners worked in real life. This was mostly a waste of time though. So at this point I began to realize, all too suddenly, how badly I needed water and how quickly I needed it. Then it began. Construction on the desalination pit. It was also at this point, during editing, that I realized why carbon skimmers exist. Along with a few other revelations, I realized that you're probably supposed to use multiple kinds of oxygen-producing and carbon-removing elements in tandem to achieve true oxygen sufficiency. Now construction focus really turned to the desalination effort. I needed the water desalinated and cooled off for use, or else my colony would starve and suffocate at the same time. In the meantime, I'll have to keep an eye on Ren here, since they seem keen on melting their feet to the deck in order to research this geyser. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. The liquid coming out of the desalinator will be around 167 degrees. In order to bring that to a usable and potable temperature for the plants, we need to pass it through a thermoregulator. This will reduce it by about 25 degrees, which will do nothing to make the water more usable, and I will, of course, assume this is good enough and let it slide. Oh, and look who we have here. You thought you could just sneak your way back into my colony. Alright, you can hoe corn then. And here it is. After a long... Hold on, let me fix this. Alright. Well, after a long wait for me. It's probably just a few seconds for you, but for me, after a long wait, the desalinator has been completed. Now we just gotta get some coal to it, get it running, and boom, baby, we got water. Now I just gotta get the thermoregulator running and we're good to go. There it is. 2 drops. Well, I mean, it's a start. Alright, last project of the episode. I want to get oil power running before the end of the video, since I've never really done it before. Now, implementing what I learned earlier, I'm putting down a carbon skimmer in case things get bad again. And now, after an even longer time, I have set up a functioning oil power generation system. So there it is. That's the farthest I've ever got in Oxygen Not Included. Isn't it beautiful? Howdy. So, this is the end of the video. And I wanted to sort of walk those of you leftovers through some of the things that I've had to improve on and overcome in the making of this. So, for one, my last video's production folder was about 2 gigs. Oh, that's off screen. 2 gigs. The folder for this video at the time of writing this is already about 9.75 gigs, and I haven't even recorded all of the voiceovers for the second half of the video. The script for the last video was 552 words. The script for this video, as of this word, is 2,050 words. That is a 271% increase. My last video, being my first genuine product, took me about 36 hours to complete, including script writing, editing, and recording. This video took me roughly 62 hours, at a guess, so almost double. My mic quality, as hopefully you have noticed, here I made my own little pop filter, has improved. The amount of editing and the quality thereof has improved. The timing, script, visuals, audio, all have experienced an increase in quality. That was my goal with this video, to improve everything at least a little and produce a better final product for your consumption. I hope that you found that I've made that possible. And hey, if you like this video, would you mind sharing it with a friend for me? I'm a data guy, and I like when people use numbers to back their claims. The last video netted me 99 views, at least between its launch and the writing of this script. The percentage of viewers who weren't subscribed was nearly 85%. If everyone were to share it with one person, assuming the sharing ended there every time, I'd net at a bare minimum 198 views. Assuming the trend of doubling continues, I'd net 20 likes, 14 comments, and 14 new subscribers. That would be massive for me. Alright, dumb nerd stuff aside. I appreciate your continued support, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Have a great day. See ya.